First class sailing. Take the helm.
I'm Ceri Hurford-Jones and welcome to another episode in the First Class Sailing Take the Helm series. Today I'm talking all things racing with Cameron Davies, who runs a fantastic yacht called Espresso Martini on behalf of First Class Sailing. He and his first mate will take you out on the water to get a real taste of life at the cutting edge of the racing world in a safe and fully supported environment, giving you an experience and adrenaline rush like no other, combined with the satisfaction of working in a team that's being tested to its limits. I began our chat by asking Cameron to tell me more about his role within First Class Sailing and a little bit about himself.
I'm a Yachtmaster Offshore commercially endorsed skipper. That's what I do for First Class Sailing. I race a boat called Espresso Martini. We take charter crews for First Class Sailing. I've been sailing for about 40 years. You'll get a hint of how old I am because of that. It started in dinghies, gone through sports boats into yachts, partly because dinghies is too physical for me these days, but partly also because you want to go further as your sailing career develops. Lucky enough to have gone through the youth squad under the great Jim Saltonstall and his coaching experience. Never quite got up amongst the chocolates, as they called it, but I was one of his many ferrets, and it was absolutely fantastic. Brilliant introduction to sailing. Some of the coaching we did, some of the capabilities of boat handling that we learnt, that has gone on to form what has been a very successful Olympic campaign over many, many years for the UK. And I think I was one of the early people to have benefited from all of that.
What is it that gives you that excitement? Why sail? What got you into it?
I think there's a combination of things, Ceri. On the one hand, there is nothing else but the wind, right? You've got the wind driving you. We're an island race. We're blown along every day one way or another, harnessing that to make the boat go as fast as possible on every angle of sail, in every possible condition, with a crew that may or may not have experience of doing this before. That's the buzz, right? You layer on top of that the need to start, countdown, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 1 minute. Yeah, exactly. The heart races, the excitement's up, the adrenaline's there, the crew are sharp. There's lots of people looking from the deck, telling you what other boats are doing. There's a milling around of a lot of boats. The bigger the boats are, the more intimidating that can be. But you have to go in with a plan for your start. You have to know where you're going to be. On the longer races, where it might be 2 days, 1 day, it might be 2 days, 5 days, whatever it might be, the start is less important. But still, that's one of the initial bits of the excitement, is to get there over the start line and get clear and get a good start.
Today is all about racing. That's what we're going to be talking about, and particularly for people perhaps who haven't got involved in the racing scene before. What is it they need to know? What is it they need to think about?
Right, so racing it provides the opportunity to sharpen up all of those skills that sailors know they have. So we're hoisting the mainsail, we're hoisting the jib, we're trimming the mainsail, we're trimming the jib, we're flying a spinnaker. Spinnaker could be a complicated thing in waves, in breezy conditions. There's a lot to manage. We may have to jibe the spinnaker. You've got to bring the pole down inside the forestay, trip the spinnaker before you do that, reconnect it after the jibe on a boat that's moving from side to side and fore and aft on a narrow bow because it's a race boat. So it's quite a platform to encourage you to get your balance right and your coordination of all these various activities right. And when you then go back to perhaps cruising or another form of sailing that you might do, you take all of that with you as a sort of learning, and it just makes you think, okay, I've been now used to pushing a fast boat hard at speeds that I'm not used to. We'll get 14, 15, perhaps 18 knots surfing down a wave routinely, and wow. we'll go upwind we'll go upwind in 8 knots, 10 knots of true wind. We'll be going upwind at 6, 7 knots. So it's immediate. You really get a sense of, okay, well, this is what I can do. And one of the other great things when we're going upwind is our tacking angle is really small compared to cruising boats. So we're tacking at 38 degrees either side of the wind. It's phenomenal. And right. Yeah, and so we make quick progress over the race course, over the ground. And that's exciting. Right, and giving people the experience of that is wonderful because they enjoy it in and of itself. And when they then do step back to whatever it is their normal form of sailing, I think they've just developed a confidence around sail handling, around boat trim, around sail trim, around spinnakers if they want to use them, that they wouldn't have had.
Yeah, and there's also that thing about getting something out of working with your fellow man, about teamwork, and never more so on a small boat travelling at speed.
Yeah, that's right. So my world, I started in dinghy sailing. Two-man boats, single-handed boats, you're doing everything yourself. You're trimming the sails, you're balancing the boat, you're launching the boat, you're recovering the boat, you're doing all the start, you're doing all the tactics upwind. There comes a point where the boats get large enough for you not to be able to do that, obviously, right? You need other people to be able to contribute. But the whole coordination then between, say I'm the helm, say between helm and main sheet, if the main sheet person, man or woman, if the main sheet person has not released the main at a time that I need to duck, if I'm helming, duck behind a boat, we're not moving. Right? We're going to hit that boat. And if it's a big drop down behind a boat, if we're on port tack and we need to give way to a starboard boat and it's a half a boat length or a full boat length, we need to duck down and it's breezy, the main needs to come off, the jib needs to come off too. So you need a main sheet trimmer, you need a jib sheet trimmer, all to be coordinated with the helm, and you don't want to be doing this and losing speed. So you drop down, keep the speed on, come back up, and try and get nice and tight to the stern of the starboard tacker, come back up onto the wind again. All of that coordination that people need on a boat, that's 3 or 4 people working together to develop ultimately some kind of intuition between the 3-4 of you.
And that comes with time and practice and experience.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And again, when you take that back to your boat, you'll realise that it's a very manageable thing. Actually, I can get closer to that vessel than I thought I ever could. I can do some racing. An example, round the island race, it's a race for all comers. So you can do the IRC classes as we do, we're an IRC 1 boat, or you can enter in as a cruising racing class, and you can do something at a different level. It's still a race, right? Perhaps it's something you never thought of doing before, but now you can.
So you're going to get more confidence, you're going to get a lot of experience and hopefully a lot of fun out of it as well. And first class sailing and running racing opportunities lots of times throughout the year, aren't they?
That's right, Ceri, yeah. So, yeah, first class sailing, London and Southampton based sail training and charter company. We charter in this race boat into first class sailing. We love working with them. They're a fantastic set of people. And they provide people for us to take out for this experience. So it can be everything from the Fastnet to round the island. It is racing. We can do inshore racing. We can do smaller offshore races in the Fastnet. The calendar's a full calendar. There's no end of weekends to take part in through the summer.
And the Solent is a rich and varied scene when it comes to racing. I mean, it is renowned as an epicentre of good quality racing, isn't it?
Exactly that. It offers everything, really. And it offers a ruggedness, and yet without it being too wild. So you've got the protection of the Hurst Narrows, so the seas can't quite get that big, but they can get big enough. And you've got wind against tide, you've got quite a ferocious tide at times. The racing will start this year with the Nab Tower race, 23rd of March. So that's a 35-mile race from Cowes out to the east, round the Nab Tower and back. The following day is a race out to the west, slightly shorter, 25 miles, all out of Cowes. So, yeah, lovely. And you've got the southwest facing Western Solent and the kind of southeast facing Eastern Solent, and a lot of water between the two. So it covers a lot of wind directions that you can... Well, basically there's not a wind direction that doesn't allow you to set a course, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. It's all there on our doorstep. So let's just talk through now somebody wanting to come into the racing scene, perhaps somebody new to this particular experience. What sort of process will they go through? They'll obviously ring First Class Sailing and go, I'm kind of interested in racing. What's the next step? Yeah.
So, great question. We start the season March, April, depending really where Easter lies. It will start with the Winter Series racing that's usually run by Warsash or one of the handball clubs. That will involve day sailing, Sunday racing, and 2 weekends, full weekends, Saturday and Sunday, which are within that programme but also independent of it. So you could just do those 4 days over 2 weekends. It does not include racing over Easter. Easter's something separate. That builds you in then to the start of the offshore racing season. So that takes us through April. that's a great way of coming into it. So that's inshore sailing, generally flatter waters, sharp responses are required, lots of boats around, shorter race courses, more upwind, downwind legs. So you're sailing upwind, set the spinnaker, come downwind, get the spinnaker down, go upwind again. They do mix it up. If the wind's in a different direction or awkward direction for that, they will set courses around the cans, which can be entirely interesting. You've got tide to contend with, boats to contend with, a lot going on. So people can come into that, and it provides a great starting point to sort of really feel confidence, just moving on a boat that's moving quickly, and quick tacks, tacking when other boats force you to tack. You hope you see them, right? 99% of the time you will, 1% of the time you might miss them, and you'll get a late tack.
It could be a big old piece of cloth.
Can't it just? Yeah, big curtain. And at that point, you need to all respond as a crew, rush tack, whatever it is, you'll get through it, right? And from there, the season starts.
And your expectations of a new person coming on board, I'm putting myself into this situation because I've not done any racing really myself, there's that kind of nervousness of your expectations of me are at what level, because I haven't got the use to this boat. I don't know what to expect. I'm used to my family cruiser. How do you make that work for me?
So a lot of people come with different objectives out of racing. So in the previous events that we've done with first class sailing, which have been quite a few now, we've got people who've crossed the Atlantic looking for a step up from cruising. I mean, cruising across the Atlantic is a big thing, but they want to step up because they don't feel the boat handling has been there, or they want to learn something different about racing, or they want to take themselves off now into the racing world. We've had people that have stepped up. They've got a couple of qualifications. They've stepped up from dinghy sailing and want to do that, or they've, as you said, Ceri, a cruising kind of person that wants to come into yacht racing. We'll take them all. There's different jobs to be done on the boat. They're myself, skipper, and first mate, so we will run the boat. We can cover a lot of the tasks, but not all of them. We'll be taking people on to shadow us so that we can step away from the jobs that we do at the start. So, for example, my first mate will probably do the foredeck. The bow work is quite an important bit of what we do, and I will probably do the helm. I'll quickly hand over that as quickly as possible to anybody who wants to take the helm. It's a big wheel. It's a very responsive boat. I might not give them the starting responsibility straight away, but they can come out of the dock, sail down the Southampton water or into the Solent, wherever it is, and we'll hand over skills to people as quickly as we can and give them the confidence that they will only get by making a few mistakes.
That's
actually.
the point, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's the way we learn.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
any level, for any hobby or interest that we have, it's getting out there and getting our feet wet. In this case, more or less literally, because let's talk a little bit about your boat. Espresso Martini is an exciting bit of kit. Just give us an outline as to what she is.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to look up that's listening, it's a Far 40. You'll find plenty of images online of the Far 41 design. It was a boat designed in the 90s, continued to be built through the 90s and the early 2000s. It's probably one of the best race boats that's ever been built. Not now the fastest. Modern designs have got a little bit better, but it's still one of the best and one of the most solid boats out there. So when you get a race boat, you have to be able to put on a lot of tension on the rig. What we're trying to do, Ceri, is get as much drive out of the wind on every angle of sail that we can. And in order to do that, we need the rig tensions to be tight. We need the wind to hit us and drive us, not spill out because the rig flexes or the sail flexes. So we're looking to get that drive all the way through what we're doing. To support those kind of loads, inside the boat, it's got an aluminium space frame. And it's built with E-glass. It's a really, really solid bit of kit. It gives us a lot of confidence for driving it hard. In wind, in waves, upwind, downwind. It's an 8-bunk boat, so we can sleep 8 people on it. So we will go offshore with 8 people. We can take more than that when we're racing, up to 12. A nice number to sail with is about 10 people on board. We can go to 12. The extra numbers help with the work on the boat. They also help with, as we call it, rail meat. Right? We need to be able to balance the boat by sitting people on the rail. That weight matters. That helps us to go upwind. That helps us to counteract the heeling moment. That helps us to go faster.
good bodies on board.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have a bit of movable ballast. It helps a lot.
Exactly.
Cameron, we're reaching the end of today's episode for First Class Sailing. If you wouldn't mind, just give us a little bit of a kind of why should somebody consider coming racing with First Class Sailing?
Sure. So what we do with this race boat is we enter races through the year. So I've mentioned the Warsash Spring Series and so forth. There's the RORC, the Royal Ocean Racing Club offshore, and there's the Junior Offshore Group as well. These are fantastic environments to get involved in sailing. There's a lot of support and structure and a really good community that takes part in this. And it's a really nice way to get your confidence up, to get out there, to get the early training in within the Solent, and then stretch out a little bit further. We go into the Channel, we go to Alderney, we go to Cherbourg, we go to St Malo, we go down the coast to Plymouth and back, we go to Weymouth. There's a myriad of sailing events out there, and when we get there, we tie up with some mates, we have a beer, we have a bite to eat. It's lovely.
It's a glorified pub crawl.
Yeah, it's a glorified... With people who very quickly, because of what we're doing, because we're all thrown in together, bond. We do bond. And we become sort of mates.
Cameron, absolute joy talking to you today. Thank you so very much indeed for your time. I get a real sense of the fun and excitement and interest that you get from racing, and clearly you can pass this on and enjoy passing that feeling on to other people.
Thank you very much, Ceri.
The focus of First Class Sailing is first and foremost to have fun. Yacht racing can be physically demanding. It can be lovely reaching along with the spinnaker up in a flat sea, but it can also be tough going upwind in a strong blow. But you'll be pleased to know that most of First Class Sailing's racing is in the summer. Whatever the conditions and the experience, it's always worth it, and the sense of satisfaction and personal achievement is fantastic. First Class Sailing yacht skippers are very experienced. They have many thousands of miles under their belts, and they love imparting their knowledge. They're well used to sailing with both novices and experienced sailors alike. Book your racing taster today. Just search First Class Sailing.